In the heart of what is now southern Nigeria lies Anioma, a land of proud traditions and resilient people. Between 1883 and 1914, this region became the stage for one of the most formidable and sustained resistances to British colonial rule. This was the Ekumeku Movement, a series of uprisings that spanned 3 decades. The movement was not merely a rebellion, but a symbol of defiance and unity in the face of imperial domination. This rebellious uprising will later inspire the Mau Mau resistance movement in Kenya, in faraway East Africa. The British arrived in West Africa with grand ambitions, drawn by the promise of resources and wealth. The Royal Niger Company, a private enterprise with imperial backing, sought to dominate the region's trade, particularly the lucrative palm oil industry. But in Anioma, they met resistance. The Anioma people, an Igbo-speaking group known for their strong cultural identity, viewed the British not as partners, but as invaders. By the 1880s, tensions had escalated, fueled by British demands for trade monopolies and their enforcement of unfair treaties. Anioma's leaders refused to bow to these pressures, setting the stage for the Ekumeku War. Birth of the Ekumeku Movement. The word Ekumeku translates to "do not speak about it." It was more than a name. It was a code of secrecy and solidarity. The Ekumeku Movement was a network of Anioma warriors united under this principle. They were bound by oaths, their strategies steeped in the traditions and spiritual beliefs of their ancestors. Operating as a guerrilla force, the Ekumeku warriors employed unconventional tactics, using the dense forests and their knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the British. Their initiation rituals were shrouded in mystery, designed to instill loyalty and resilience. Before the clashes. As of the year 1884, British dominance in some parts of Nigeria was very visible. Haven already annexed Lagos in 1861, when it was time for the Berlin Conference in 1885 in Germany, where European powers divided and shared Africa like a piece of cake. Some regions comprising of what is now known as Nigeria was agreed to be dominated by Britain. Immediately after the conference, Britain wanted to expand their dominance to every nook and cranny of Nigeria. They fought and captured Ijebu land after some stiff resistance in 1892. They annexed northern Nigeria on January 1st, 1897. They fought and captured Benin Kingdom after some stiff resistance on February 1897. Captured Ndoni, an Anioma land in present-day Rivers State. The Anioma nation frequently clashed with the British, leading the latter to view the region as challenging and in need of subjugation to secure economic and social control. The Anioma leaders were labeled violent due to prior conflicts, including the 1830 capture of the Lander brothers by the Anioma people, which worsened British perceptions and set the stage for future hostilities. Early clashes. By 1870, tensions between Anioma and Britain escalated, leading to the British invasion of Ndorni. The British Parliament sanctioned force to secure economic control, and by 1880, Atani faced similar aggression after resisting the Royal Niger Company's trade dominance. Scholar Joseph Egwu described these actions, driven by the Royal Niger Company's charter, as the first genocide against the Anioma people. On November 2, 1897, the bombardment of Onitsha-Ado ignited years of guerrilla warfare between Anioma rulers and the British. Major clashes and escalation. The first major clash occurred in 1898, during the Ibuzor Royal Niger Company War. The British launched a surprise attack on the town of Ibusa, expecting a quick victory. But the Anioma warriors of Ibuzor, armed with traditional weapons and an indomitable spirit, fought back fiercely. The British, Haven-trained and established an army known as the West African Frontier Force, with the Nigerian base in Lokojar, comprising mainly of Hausa fighters, decided to order for reinforcements of about 4,000 soldiers from their Lokoja base to suppress the Anioma resistance. These Hausa soldiers became a key element of Britain's military strategy. The battle dragged on. The British forces, together with their Hausa soldiers, suffered heavy casualties, forcing the British to adopt a new policy, which was to withdraw from the battlefield, go to the farmlands, setting fire on the farmlands, burning all the crops and nearby villages, which forced the people to surrender. Despite these losses, the Aniorma's resolve only grew. By 1900, the Ekumeku had become a well-organized resistance force. British frustration mounted as the warriors continued to ambush supply lines, disrupt trade, and evade capture. The turning point: major battles of the 1900s. In 1904, the Ekumeku faced a series of brutal engagements in Ukunzu and Orwa. British forces, bolstered by heavy artillery, reinforced Hausa fighters from the West African Frontier Force, and disciplined regiments like the Connaught Rangers launched coordinated assaults on Aniorma towns. The warriors fought valiantly, using hit-and-run tactics to inflict significant casualties. But the British's superior firepower and reinforcements began to take a toll. Orwa versus the British, 1906. In 1906, the Ika people, among the fiercest Western Igbo warriors, clashed with the British, led by S.O. Crew Reed. The Ekumeku soldiers, supported by acute warriors, leveraged their superior geographical knowledge and tactical training. Lieutenant H.C. Morehouse noted the heavy casualties sustained by the British due to the Ekumeku's disciplined strategy. The Ika people inflicted significant losses, including the death of Mr. S.O. Crew, a significant blow to the British forces. The British, determined to crush the resistance once and for all, decided to burn down everything at sight. Villages were burned, crops and farmlands destroyed, and indiscriminate killings carried out. Despite the destruction and British brutality, the war demonstrated that their forces were not invincible and could falter if confronted with equally sophisticated arms and coordinated resistance. They also suffered heavy casualties that highlighted the intensity of the conflict: suppression and division. By 1914, the British had effectively suppressed the Ekumeku resistance. Aniorma was divided and incorporated into neighboring provinces, a deliberate strategy to weaken its unity. Key leaders were captured, executed, or exiled. The British hoped this would extinguish the spirit of resistance, but the Aniorma people's cultural identity remained intact. Legacy of the Ekumeku Movement. The Ekumeku War left a profound legacy. It was an evidence of the Aniorma people's courage and unity. While the British eventually gained control, the resistance inspired other Igbo regions and anti-colonial movements across Africa, notable of which is the Mau Mau movement in Kenya, East Africa. Historians like Dr. Joseph Egwu have described the Ekumeku movement as the greatest display of Igbo nationalism, unmatched in its resilience and unity. The memory of the Ekumeku lives on in Aniorma's oral histories, festivals, and cultural traditions. The unbreakable spirit of Aniorma. The story of the Ekumeku is not just a tale of war. It is a story of identity, resistance, and the unyielding spirit of a people. Today, Aniorma stands as a symbol of perseverance, its people proud inheritors of a legacy forged in the crucible of resistance.
Keep watching TV Afrique. Remember to subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media for more videos.